When you talk about Yu-Gi-Oh! And mention the king of games, one name immediately comes to mind. Yami Yugi himself. And Jack Atlas. And Bakura. His game is really on another level. Although Kaiba holds all the records in their card games, it's still Yugi who can win at absolutely any game. For example, in the popular family game Move Just One Finger, or you will get blasted or turn into ace. And then there is his best friend with fire in his eyes. Joey is the actual king of games in Duel Monsters. But that's their official title. Unfortunately, as was the case with Kaiba, the anime really did Joey dirty. While Kaiba lost 99% of his character development, he became absolutely badass and even got 2 filler seasons. Joey, on the other hand, turned into a monkey like in GX and was mostly just the sidekick of the great hero Yugi. Sure, he underwent significant development there too, but it's only through the manga where you realize how big it actually was. You see where Joey has come from and where he's going. In the anime, his development was repeatedly thrown out, either to make Yugi look better or just for laughs. Kaiba was transformed into a cold-hearted badass with cool one-liners in the anime, while Joey became the class clone that no one takes seriously.
A weak duelist should have weak monsters, right? I told you you couldn't handle an opponent like me. Zip!
Even though his duel against Valen was very impressive. But Joey's story is one that shows, no matter the depths from which you start, you can achieve anything. You don't need to be a multi-billionaire, a dissident of a priest, or have a mystical pharaoh cheat code. Because this is the story of Joey Wheeler, the self-made man of Yu-Gi-Oh! We all know Joey as the comical clone who has some serious dueling skills and would do anything for his friends. But if you look back, there's a different side to him. We first meet Joey as a nasty jerk who bullies Yugi and sabotages his puzzle by stealing and throwing away a piece. But behind this tyrant is just a wounded teenager. Born and raised in a broken family, his father was a gambling addict and alcoholic who often took his frustration out on others. At the age of 10, his parents split up. While his sister went to live with their mother, Joey had to stay with his father. A life of crime seemed predestined for him. From an early age, he was involved in gangs, often fighting, scamming people or bullying. Because hurt people hurt people. Like his father took out his frustration on him, Joey needed to vent his anger somewhere too. He didn't want to be the only one in misery. Especially Yugi's pacifist nature really annoyed him. Yugi never fights back. But why did this bother Joey? Because we often get irritated by things in others that we dislike about ourselves. Just as Yugi doesn't defend himself against Joey and Tristan, who is clearly smaller and weaker, Joey could never stand up to his father. We can only imagine what his father did to him. But when Yugi, Tristan and Tia went looking for Joey and entered his apartment, they were greeted by his father with a full glass bottle. What must it have been like for Joey? After all, he never wanted to go straight home. Every time school ended, Joey always had something else to do. Anything but going home. And even at home, he preferred to be alone in the garage building models rather than being truly at home. In his isolation and the need to belong somewhere, Joey found his way into gangs. But that wasn't meant to be his future. Ironically, it was from Yugi, the guy much smaller than him, whom he had bullied, that Joey learned what it means to be a true man. He learned not to pick on the smaller ones, but to protect those who are important to you with everything you've got. Yugi protected Joey and Tristan from Yugioh, who was much bigger, even though he knew it was absolutely hopeless. But Yugi wanted Joey and Tristan as friends and saw them as such, even though they bullied him. Ironically, little Yugi did something that no one had ever done for Joey before. He protected him. Something not even his mother could do for him. And all this happened because Yugi wished for it and the Millennium Puzzle fulfilled his wish. We know that the wish begins to manifest into reality while the puzzle is being assembled. This little nudge from the puzzle to become Yugi's friend turned Joey's life completely upside down. This development shows how a single positive interaction can trigger a chain of events that leads someone to reconsider their past mistakes and choose a new path. He came to understand how important friends are and that you don't need to cause others pain just to be recognized by them. Those aren't true friends. True friends are there for you no matter how daunting the obstacle. Now Joey wants to protect and support Yugi too. He has become a true friend. A man. And instead of being bitter and hating his father, he sees that his father is just a human with problems too. Joey decides to participate in a game show aiming to win the jackpot to help his father out of debt so they can finally be father and son. Although he wins, the company goes bankrupt and the check bounces. Well, Joey, like his father, seems to still be plagued by bad luck. But he now leads by example, expanding Yugi's circle by bringing in Tristan and pulling him off the wrong track too. And he does it with a puzzle that Tristan initially used in an attempt to win Mio's heart, but ended up learning about true friendship instead. When a teacher tried to embarrass Tristan, Yugi and Joey, who quickly grasped the concept, protected him. Joey and the others are tricked by Nezumi, who was robbed, and leads the friends to the scene of the crime. Joey acknowledges how hard it is to return to such a place because he knows the difficulty well. However, because they were tricked, they end up confronting Joey's old gang, which he finally puts an end to once and for all. Since a gang is nothing compared to real friends. Friends who stands behind someone, even if someone puts a gun to his head. In just season 0 alone, Joey underwent such drastic development that it laid the foundation for the rest of his life. His time in the gang toughened him up and made him physically strong enough to protect his friends. He was even able to beat up grown men like Bandit Keith when he had trouble with Yugi. Yes, the anime played down his physical strength a bit, as Bandit Keith easily kicked his ass.
Well, I guess my reputation precedes me.
Yeah, your reputation as a fool. I tried to warn you, Pea-Brain.
And this brings us to his life as a duelist. Something that is definitely more challenging than one might imagine. Without money, Joey of course can't build a deck that is well coordinated or includes rare cards. As a result, he initially is so weak that he even loses to someone like Tia. That's his start. He loses to Tia. However, it is precisely duel monsters that he must play to have a chance at winning prize money, which he now needs to cover the costs of an eye surgery for his sister. Even though he wasn't invited, Yugi shares his starships with him and smuggles him into Duelist Kingdom. And as a little head start, he also receives the Time Wizard, which he absolutely needs, because his first duel is against Mai, who has dueled someone like Rex Raptor out of existence. Everyone tries to talk him out of it, no one believes in him. But just as Yugi faced Ushio, Kaiba or Weevil, Joey also faces every challenge because a true duelist fears no one. Yet, even though he wins the duel, he only does so because Yugi gives him tips, and with the help of the Millennium Puzzle's power, he draws the Time Wizard. He is not yet a true duelist and he is aware of that. But he wants to become one, and from this moment, he is on the best way to becoming so. But Joey still doesn't believe in the heart of the cards. However, wanting to stand on his own, he decides not to accept any more tips or help from Yugi in his next duel against Rex, even though he fears losing. After all, Rex is no ordinary opponent. He was the runner-up in the Japanese championships. But Joey can't make it through the duel entirely on his own. Although Yugi doesn't give him tips this time, his opponent inadvertently does. Rex, with his gamble, unintentionally draws Joey's attention to the Time Wizard, allowing him to win the duel. Once again, he wins, but not entirely through his own strength. However, he now finally has the Red Eyes, an extremely strong and rare card in his deck. Then Kaiba shows up, whom Joey deeply despises. But not just because he almost gave Solomon a heart attack, nearly killed Tristan, if not for Mokuba's rescue, would have killed all his friends, or forced Joey to face off against fucking Leatherface. Joey can't respect him because Kaiba tried with his own hands to kill his little brother. And since Joey can relate this to himself and his little sister Serenity, he feels nothing but contempt for Kaiba. He loses the duel, but he doesn't even bother telling Kaiba that he's fighting for his sister, because Kaiba isn't worth it and wouldn't understand it anyway.
Why don't you go look for an opponent you can actually beat, like an infant or a monkey?
Huh? What'd you say?
That monkey thing gets him every time.
That Kaiba has already underwent significant development to this point is something that Joey and the others are not aware of. Fun fact! The Kaiba Corporation employs about 2,000 people and generates $1.4 billion in revenue per year. However, after Seto lost his duel against Yugi, the company's stocks dropped and they had to downsize slightly. Yet the stock climbs back up each time Kaiba wins a duel and proves himself as the top duelist. As such, he must continue to win to ensure the well-being of the Kaiba Corporation and its approximately 2,000 employees. This defeat teaches Joey that he still has much to learn. In the duel, he repeatedly sends weaker monsters to their demise, even though he should know that doing so would cost him significant life points. However, because Kaiba has changed and realizes what Joey is fighting for, his words reach him. It all depends on you, whether you let yourself be crushed or become strong enough to protect those who mean something to you. With further harsh words against Joey, Kaiba only drives him further, fueling his determination. Even though Kaiba now haunts him in his dreams, where Joey always draws the wrong cards, Joey sees this as inspiration to one day show Kaiba what he's really made of. He can now prove himself in his next duel, where he is now completely on his own. This is his test to see if he believes in himself and his deck. And even though he starts at a disadvantage, given the home field advantage of the zombie monsters. When he finds himself in a tight spot, he thinks of his goal and that he cannot afford to lose. He puts all his faith in the heart of the cards, and the last draw, he gets the right card, allowing him to end the duel. This was his first duel that he won entirely on his own strength. Was it luck that he drew the right card? No. The strong reason behind Joey's fight gives him the power to draw the right card. Previously, he was plagued by bad luck in every game. But now, with a purpose, he must fully trust his skills and his cards. This is the strength of a true duelist.
I only need 2 more star chips. Hang in there, Serenity.
Yugi now believes in Joey's abilities, unlike Tia, Tristan and Bakura, who still have their doubts. Their doubts about his abilities are especially evident during the tag team duel between Yugi and Joey against Pada and Dogs. But Joey doesn't need to prove anything to them. Even though their support would be helpful, he just needs to believe in himself. He quickly proves his worth by leading Para and Dogs into a well-laid trap. Although Joey ultimately needed to be saved by Yugi, who also did most of the planning and driving of the strategy, Joey set up the final with Copycat, enabling Yugi to finish the job. But his progress almost came to a halt after Yugi lost his duel against Kaiba, resulting in a shortage of star chips. Joey offered his own, since he could only participate because of Yugi, effectively making them Yugis. However, Mai steps in to settle her debts. At first, Yugi refused, but Joey managed to speak directly to Yugi Muto's heart, bypassing Yami Yugi. If a true duelist only fights for his honor and not for what's truly important in life or for people who are important to him, then he doesn't want to be a true duelist at all. Being a duelist is just one part of his entire personality as Joey. This mindset, along with his friend's support, is precisely why Joey managed to collect all 10 star chips. It wasn't luck. He faced his fears and pushed through. This was the only way he could improve both as a person and as a duelist. Yugi recognizes this, as did Mai. With a good-natured Joey who sees hope in himself and others, he manages to open others' eyes like Mai's. That's why she gave him her card to prevent his disqualification from the tournament after Keith stole his card. Now Joey faces what is arguably his toughest duel yet, and he must face it entirely alone. Against a former American champion who also cheats during duels. not only is Joey completely outmatched in terms of experience, but tactically as well, since Keith always gets the right cards for his perfectly tuned machine-themed deck. Joey, on the other hand, continues to rely on his makeshift deck, which nobody would likely win with, except Joey, because Joey draws his strength from hope and his trust in his deck. Keith, however, is only participating in the tournament because he lost all his trust during a duel against Pegasus. Pegasus humiliated him in front of the entire world, destroying his confidence in his skills and his cards. After his defeat, Keith was so devastated that he contemplated suicide. Therefore, he duels out of revenge and desperation, which is why he must cheat. In desperation and revenge, there is no spark of hope. Joey believes in the good, while Keith only sees the bad. Fear, too, is a belief, just a belief in the bad. Thus, Joey can once again, luckily, or rather through his strong faith in his abilities and deck, draw the right card at the right moment. Thanks to his courage, he wins as a bloody novice against a professional who cheated, all on his own. Also, with his win against Keith, it was also his win against his father, since Keith resembles him in every way. He was a desperate alcoholic, used gambling in the duel and loses that, had the same outfit style with the boots and stuff, and even his hairstyle could be called a wheeler one. That was Joey's final in Duelist Kingdom. Although the duel between Joey and Yugi in the anime was very nice, in the manga it makes much more sense that they skip the duel and Joey withdraws. He knows that he can't win against Yugi or Pegasus. Joey lost easily to Kaiba and Pegasus defeated Kaiba effortlessly. Joey realizes he has much to learn and leaves the rest to Yugi without a fight because fighting would only unnecessarily reveal strategies. Joey's journey on Duelist Kingdom has transformed him from an absolute beginner to a professional slayer, with a deck that isn't coordinated at all. And in return for Yugi giving him the money for his sister's surgery, he promises Yugi something: a victory in a duel against the King of Games. Although currently the score stands at 187-0 in favor of Yugi. Now, this brings us to something I've already mentioned about the anime. It just undermines Joey's victories and therefore his reputation. Next, emo boy Duke enters the game, making Joey look like a nobody in the anime by defeating him in a duel, forcing Joey to obey his commands. Yeah, they didn't use their own decks but randomly shuffled cards. However, this should have played into Joey's hands, given that he typically uses a mismatched deck with no real structure. His loss in this duel is unfortunate and makes it seem like his victories on Duelist Kingdom were just luck. Unlike in the manga, where Joey falls for one of Duke's tricks, becoming his servant. Duke acknowledges that he wouldn't win a regular duel and tries a different tactic. After Joey rescues Yugi from the flames, he is rewarded with defeat after defeat in the hospital. He continually draws the wrong cards and loses constantly because Yugi has already developed counter strategies for his deck. It's time for Joey to build a new deck and set a new goal. One that will reconnect him with the heart of the cards. The timing of a new tournament for a new deck couldn't be more perfect, especially as Joey wants to set a good example for his sister, who needs encouragement. Unfortunately, he faces an immediate setback when he loses to a Rare Hunter and his bootleg Exodia deck before the tournament even starts. Not only does he lose the duel, but he also loses his red eyes. The fact that Yugi didn't even want to know the strategy of his opponent and was able to see through the Exodia tactic taught Joey a crucial lesson. To always believe in oneself, no matter where you are or what challenges you are facing, whether you know what you are up against or are facing the unknown. In the anime, the Rare Hunter threatens to destroy the Red Eyes if Joey reveals the strategy.
Wheeler, if you say a word about how I defeated you, I'll tear your Red Eyes Black Dragon to shreds!
Yugi wins back the Red-Eyed Dragon, which Joey initially refuses to take back because he didn't retrieve it through his own effort. He declares that he will only take it back once he fulfills his promise and earns the card in a duel against Yugi. That is the pride of a duelist. Fun facts! The first syllables of Yugi's and Joey's, or in the original Jonoichi's, names combine to form the Japanese word yugioh, which means friendship. This highlights the strong bond between the two. The next 3 qualifying duels in Battle City all start with Joey at a disadvantage. Against Esparoba, a fake Pegasus who claims to have psychic powers to read his opponent's hand, having already outmaneuvered Rex with this tactic, Joey was unaware that Roba was simply cheating. After all, Joey knew from his experience with Pegasus that such abilities could be real. Despite this, he faces the challenge and even started with fewer life points because he wasn't aware of the new rules, which allowed him to be attacked unprotected in the first round.
So I'll take on this cosmic clown, even though he's psycho.
Psychic! And he'll eat you alive!
In Duelist Kingdom, it was the cheating American champion. Here is the cheating Japanese champion Weevil, who sneaked a parasite card into Joey's deck before their duel. Trusting in people and not becoming a bit skeptical after Esper's antics somewhat trapped Joey. Yet he tries to trust people and his future to be a good role model for his sister. The duel turned into a struggle for survival due to the parasite card, but Joey never gave up hope and drew exactly the card he needed in his last draw to win the duel. Joey's ability to extricate himself from the situation even impressed an OG like Solomon in dueling, who now recognizes him as an excellent duelist and thinks that Yugi better watch out. In the duel against Marco, Joey forgot to remove the parasite card, which puts him in a disadvantage. Then, Marco's flying fish ignored the trap card even though it had no effect, and beast monsters can't attack over the sea, forcing Joey to rethink his strategy. Joey had to think outside the box in that duel more than once, as the legendary fisherman wasn't on the field but in the nearby wading pool, attacking from ambush. Joey won the duel because Marco chose to retrieve the legendary fisherman instead of bringing back his stronger whale. If Marco had done this just to hand Joey the victory, Joey wouldn't accept it and would demand a rematch. However, Marco did it because he couldn't bear to see the fisherman in the graveyard, still holding on to the hope that his father is out there somewhere at sea. Every time, Joey was at an unfair disadvantage, yet he emerged as the victor in each duel. As a result, he refreshed his deck with new cards. The 7-star Jinzo from Esper, the Insect Queen from Weevil, Moby Dick and the legendary fisherman from Marco. And he adds each to his deck because he can't afford rare cards. Of course he incorporates anything good he gets his hands on, even if they don't match well within his overall deck concept, unlike for example a deck specifically built around Jinzo. He has no choice but to make the best of what he has available. No other finalist or opponent has utilized the other rare cards in their decks. Did Esper uses Rex's Dino? Weevil anything other than insects? Marco something from his opponents? Mai, Odeon, Marik, Kaiba or Bakura? Of course, Yugi didn't pass Slifer, but no one else incorporated any of the rare cards into their decks. Except Joey. Joey may now be in the finals, but his greatest challenge still awaits him even before that. Marik managed to corrupt Joey's heart, turning him into a slave, forced to compete against Yugi with a deck stuffed with illegal cards. Joey was completely out of it, not even recognizing the heart of the duelist anymore. Fortunately, Marik's poor duel skills made things slightly easier for Yugi. Who else would waste Raigeki just for Baphomet? Although the meteor strikes made some noise, it didn't require much strategy or skill. However, the bond of friendship proved to be too strong. When Joey saw the red eyes, he began to regain consciousness and resisted Marik's influence. Instead of taking the red eyes, he chose another card. Yugi, playing that card, helped Joey resist further. He attacked other monsters and instead of destroying the puzzle and throwing it into the sea, he refused to comply and continued to resist. Joey rediscovered his honor as a duelist and the also good Marik the honor as a bastard, who intended to kill Joey regardless of the duel's outcome. Marik had planned to do nothing, hoping they would both perish. But Joey, partly himself again, remembered his promise from Duelist Kingdom and continued to play instinctively. However, Madic's power was overwhelming. He forced Joey to play a final card that would have defeated Yugi if not for one face down card. Yugi stopped the attack, clearing Joey's mind, and Madik began to dissolve. Yugi's strong last words as he sacrificed himself for Joey and their friendship showed the depth of their bond. But Joey would also give his life for Yugi and managed to grab the key to free his friend. In this duel, Joey demonstrated that the power of friendship can resist the force of the Millennium items, a feat no one had achieved before. Kaiba, understanding the power of the Millennium items from being trapped in the card himself, acknowledged Joey as a worthy duelist by throwing him the key. Still, Joey doubted himself, manipulated into nearly committing the unforgivable act of endangering his friend. But it took significant willpower and courage to fight back. Serenity, being informed of Joey's journey, found the courage to remove her bandages. Would she have had the same courage if she knew Joey was a gangster harming innocent people? Would she be brave if her big brother crumbled at the slightest obstacle? No way! Joey's new path was the reason. Joey's first goal, raising money for the surgery, was successful thanks to Yugi. His second goal, to lead by example with courage, was a complete success, a mixture of his own doing and his friend's support. The only goal left is goal number 3, a duel against Yami Yugi, which he must face alone. And this is of course far more dramatic in the manga, as they did not duel in Duelist Kingdom, and otherwise he has only dueled Yugi Muto. On Duelist Kingdom, he didn't yet see himself as a true duelist. Here, he aims to make up for that and be a worthy opponent for Yugi. And thus we come to the final of Battle City. Even though every duelist in Battle City got some rest before the final rounds, Joey's room was a hub of activity, missing out on much needed downtime, since his first duel was against Odeon, who was posing as Madik. Over time, Joey realized that this wasn't the same person who had possessed him the day before. Madik himself underestimated Joey, viewing him as a merely lucky. But was it just luck? Even when Joey had nothing in his hand to stop the mystical beast, he stood firm and faced the challenge head on. However, since Joey had exposed Odeon and skepticism arose, Madik forced Odeon to play the counterfeit winged dragon of Ra, resulting in both players being struck by lightning. Ironically, this led to Joey's victory. Was it planned? No. Was it luck? That's debatable. Was it always luck when he hit the mark with the Time Wizard? That no one ever hit his monster through the Elf box? That the graceful dice and the skull dice always rolled the right numbers? That the roulette spider never pointed at him? Or that he could effectively use the question card? Were all these duels just coincidences? Pure luck? Unlike his father, who gambled away his life and was filled with hatred, a path that never leads to victory, Joey gambles for a noble cause, giving him the strength to sway fate. It's this fate that allows him to stand back up after being struck by lightning, while Odeon remains down.
It's telling me two things. You're not who you're pretending to be, and you won't win.
Even in the 4-way duel that would decide the semifinals, Joey was determined to face Madik to save Mai from the Shadow Realm. To conquer this challenge, he stood on his own, refusing Yugi's help. In fact, he influenced the duel so that he would face Madik, setting up the final strikes against both Madik and himself, which inadvertently played into Kaiba's hands as he wanted Yugi. Madik aimed to take Yugi, and Yugi hoped to duel Joey to complete the matchup. This suggests that even Yugi didn't believe Joey could handle a god card, no matter who he faced. Then there was Ra, the strongest of the god cards, which even Kaiba with Obelisk wouldn't be able to stop without a specific strategy. A billionaire with access to every card imaginable had to analyze Ra and adapt his deck to stand a chance. Meanwhile, Joey, with his completely random deck and no analysis or strategy, won against it. At least nearly. During his first and almost last Shadow game, the attacks were so intense that even Marik was astonished Joey could still stand. Even he had to admit he underestimated Joey and had to unleash Ra's full power against him. Joey felt the full strength of these attacks. Without any Shadow game, the attacks from a God card could induce panic attacks to others, but an attack from the strongest God card in a Shadow game was something else. And even though Joey nearly finished the duel. Yes, his heart stopped and he stopped breathing. But after this duel, everyone recognized him as a true duelist. Marik, who knew he had essentially lost, Yugi and even Kaiba. No one could have endured such a duel without having another God card on their side. Yet even death couldn't stop Joey from continuing to support his best friend Yugi. In Yu-Gi-Oh! The concept of the soul is given. Yami's countless stairs represent his soul, and after a Shadow game, the loser's soul is banished, as seen with Mai. Marik's soul during the final acted independently to apologize to Odeon. Similarly, it was Joey's soul that sneaked into Yugi, continuing to fight by his side against Kaiba, even after his death. Joey has shown up before when Yugi was despairing, as when the Millennium Necklace revealed the future, or during Yugi's duel against Kaiba, where Joey's soul spoke to Yugi, giving him the advice that turned the duel around. It was Joey who gave Yugi a dueling tip. Regaining his focus thanks to Joey, Yugi was able to continue, fulfilling Joey's role. Joey's spirit then left Yugi and returned to his own body, which is why he immediately opened his eyes afterward. And the first thing Joey asks upon resurrecting from the dead is where Yugi is, and he scolds the others for not supporting Yugi but staying with him. No other character could overcome death to continue fighting. Joey did. This is starkly different from the anime, where his ordeal is depicted as merely a bad dream, losing against a random duelist. In the manga, Joey literally wins a duel against death to support his friends further. And Joey achieved all this without possessing even a single Millennium item. Joey arrives just in time to congratulate Yugi on his victory, knowing that it won't be long before he is reunited with his red eyes. In the anime, Joey then faces Kaiba in the duel for third place and loses. First a nightmare and now reality. It seems the anime wants to kick him while he's down, as Joey subsequently loses to Mai in the Orichalcos arc and to Siegfried von Schröder in the Siegfried arc, so that Kaiba can defeat him. It's truly disappointing that the anime placed on the development of Joey from an absolute nobody to one of the best duelists. After Yugi's victory against Marik, Joey is quickly fooled by Mai, but all ends well. The only thing left unresolved is the last duel between Joey and Yami Yugi. But who won? The very fact that we are asking this question shows how much Joey has developed. Did Joey win against Yugi, who used all 3 God cards? Did he win against Yugi without the God cards? Or did he win against Yugi at all? First of all, Yugi would never approach a duel with Joey half-heartedly, as that would go against a duelist's honor. So, Joey indeed faced all 3 God cards. A clue that he may have won is found in the Dark Side of Dimensions movie, where Joey has his red eyes back. He also has it in the manga during the Ancient Egypt arc. However, defeating Yugi was never a condition for getting red eyes back. The requirement was for Joey to become a true duelist, worthy of wielding red eyes and being a worthy opponent for Yugi. Joey absolutely achieved this, becoming one of the world's best duelists with a poor deck, without wealth like Kaiba, tricks like Weevil, Millennium items like Marik, or a pharaoh by his side like Yugi. But would Atom simply let go if Joey never fulfilled his promise to win against him? I think not. Joey and Yugi are both equally valued friends to Atom, and both have had to learn to win against him in a duel, which they each aim to prove. In Ancient Egypt, Joey wanted to take on Bakura, emboldened by his journey through Battle City. Does he mean Kaiba's tournament? But he didn't technically overcome that. Sure, he's alive. Again. But overcome? He might only mean his and Yugi's own Battle City, so their last duel. I believe that Joey did manage to win this duel. However, I can also understand why some might think Yugi won. We will never know for sure, as Joey would never boast about it. But ultimately, it doesn't really matter. Joey became one of the best even when the whole world seemed against him. Even the anime was against him, consistently portraying him as less than he was. And even Takahashi once said in an interview, compared to Jonoshi, I consider Dark Yugi and Seto weak characters. The world hasn't witnessed his development as we have. He was able to let go of his past and rise to new heights. Unfortunately, Joey does lose the duel against Bakura, but that should be expected, given that Bakura is one of the main players who can direct events. Because just as they once played Dungeons & Dragons with the friends' souls at Bakura's home, they now do so in Bakura's father's museum in Domino City, a further testament to the existence of the soul. Joey's transformation, sparked by a small change in his life and a different approach to living, truly makes him the real MVP of Yu-Gi-Oh! It's no feat to dominate a duel or the scene with strong cards if you have the money for them. But to dominate with weak cards without a specific theme, that's a whole different league. So if Joey managed to beat Yugi at the end of Battle City, that would make him the king of the duels. But what do you think about Joey? Do you see Joey in a different light now? Feel free to write it down in the comments. And if you want to see what character development Kaiba actually went through, then I recommend you this video. And if you want to subscribe, then you have to click here. But that's it again from me. I hope you enjoyed this video. We'll see us next time, so take care, my friends.